Morning. Not bad, sir. How are you?
Hold on a second.
Yeah.
You'll be right on with PJ Maloney. Let's talk to that congressman I was mentioning earlier, former Congressman Kerry Bentivolio, based in Milford, Michigan. And he represented his congressional district up there for some time now, having retired, so to speak, from Congress anyway. He is hiking and biking from up in Michigan, his home district up there, down to Washington, D.C. He's currently in the Pittsburgh area. He says he's fed up. He's taking it to the streets. He's fed up with the VA. Kerry Bentivolio, good morning. Thanks a lot for being here.
Good morning. How are you, PJ?
Fine. Everything's going well. Where are you now?
Well, I'm just a couple miles east of, is it McKeesport?
Yep, that's McKeesport.
Yeah, and heading back to get back on 30 so I can trek down, southeasterly direction, heading for Washington, D.C.
Okay. So are you going to be coming into downtown Pittsburgh, or are you sort of skirting around the outskirts?
Yeah, I'm just skirting around the outskirts. That's pretty dangerous on some of those roads to be driving on a bicycle. There's very little room between that white line and the end of the road.
You could go over to the Allegheny Trail, that goes from Pittsburgh to D.C., but you wouldn't see as many people as you would out on the roadway, that's for sure. Because it follows the river, and it's a winding course, but it's beautiful. It's just gorgeous. I did it myself about 11 years ago. But anyway, let's talk about the VA. You're fed up, you say, with the VA, so you're taking it to the streets. What is it exactly you want to get done?
Well, I want some accountability. Number one, in 113th Congress, I co-sponsored and voted for a bill called the VA Accountability Act. And I want it passed in the Senate and put on the president's desk because, I have, when I read the Attorney General's report that 300,000 veterans died waiting for VA health care, and there's another 600,000 waiting to get health care. And we have about 120 veterans on average that commit suicide every week. That's more soldiers dying in suicide than are killed on our battlefields, and that's just outrageous. It shouldn't happen.
I agree. I think everybody agrees with you on that. It's just awful. What will this bill do to correct that situation?
Well, it's a step in the right direction. It makes the VA administrators accountable, and they can be fired.
Why can't that happen now?
Try firing a government bureaucrat. It's not a civilian job like you and I. If your ratings drop down, they can cancel your contract, right? An employee of just about any business in America, if you can't do the job or you fail to do the job, they can terminate you. Well, in government, what they do is they transfer you to somewhere else, and you try to do that job, and you can keep bouncing from job to job until you get your 20 years in and then retire. Very little accountability. And they have this misunderstanding that somehow we work for them, and it's supposed to be the other way around. They work for us. And if you look at the stats, you'll see that we have some really great, passionate medical personnel in the VA that want to do the job and so on and so forth. But there's a high turnover there, and you have to ask yourself, why is there a high turnover among doctors and nurses, and yet in the administration they seem to sit there and for years on end, and there's not that high turnover. Why is that? It's because the administration makes it really difficult for the people in the trenches, the doctors and the nurses, to do their job, and so they get frustrated and have to find somewhere else to go.
What kind of reaction do you get into this bike and hike that you're doing?
Well, when I stop I'm stopping at a lot of VFW, American Legion, and AMVETS posts on the way, talking to people where we stop for lunch or dinner, and they're all for it. And they start telling their story about their relatives or when they served. And we've run into some people who are actually going through a VA. We had a gentleman, I can't remember the town, but it's here in Pennsylvania, and he was wearing the cap, indicating he was a veteran, and I asked him how it was going, and we got to know him, and he said, well, I've been waiting 30 days for the Pittsburgh VA to respond to my operation for my hand. I said, well, have you called? And he said, yeah, and all I get is an answering service where you hit 1 for this, hit 2 for that, so on and so forth. I said, well, that's outrageous. A month.
Well, Now, you obviously you want these people that you're talking to write to their congressional representatives in support of this
Right.
bill you're talking about. In the meantime, I want to get your website. You say that on your website we can get more information on how to support your efforts and how to try to get this bill passed. What is your website?
Well, it's the World Wide Web, Justice for Our Veterans, one word, justiceforourveterans.com.
Good luck on your trip, and we've arranged for good weather for you through Pittsburgh, and we hope you appreciate it.
Well, thank you. I'm looking forward to it. Yeah. It's the last couple of days were pretty
Yeah,
wet.
we did it.
Yeah.
Listen, enjoy your trip, and thanks a lot for talking with us about it. I appreciate it.
Thank you. You have a wonderful day.
Bye now. Thanks.
Bye.
Former U.S. Representative Kerry Bentivolio from Milford, Michigan, and he's on a hike and bike trip from his home state up there in Michigan down to Washington, D.C., passing through Pittsburgh on Route 30 out there just east of McKeesport, he says. All right, time is 8:41. We're way late for traffic and weather.